Freedom is not a reaction. Freedom is not choice. It is an illusion to believe that because we can choose, we are free. Jiddu Krishnamurti. Have you ever wondered if you really have control over your life? Are your decisions truly yours, or are they shaped by invisible forces around you? The idea of free will has always been seen as a fundamental human right. But what if it is nothing more than a carefully crafted illusion? Theosophy and Gupta Vidya teach us that we live under the domain of Maya, the great illusion. What we call reality is nothing more than a reflection projected by higher layers of existence. We believe we are in control of our lives, but in truth, we are moved by forces we do not understand, like pieces in a cosmic game. What seems like a choice may actually be the result of internal impulses, subconscious patterns, and karmic laws acting without our awareness. Were you the one who chose to be born into a specific family, culture, or social class? Or was it the sum of your past actions that placed you at this exact point? Helena Blavatsky in The Secret Doctrine teaches us, man is his own karma, his own judge, the executor of his own sentence. He makes and unmakes himself. This means that everything we do now has already been conditioned by what we did before, whether in this life or past lives. But if the laws of karma shape our journey, where is our freedom? Do we truly make independent decisions, or are we merely following the paths traced by what we have already sown? The human mind operates within a maze of invisible influences. From childhood, we are programmed by our parents, society, religion, culture, and even stimuli we don't perceive. What we believe to be a spontaneous thought may, in reality, be just the result of a long chain of causes and effects. Krishnamurti warned that the conditioned mind merely repeats predetermined patterns. We think we are making free choices, but in reality, we are just following a pre-programmed sequence of reactions. The concept of free will is also challenged by science. Neuroscience experiments have already shown that the brain makes decisions even before the person is conscious of them. In other words, when you believe you are making a choice, your brain has already determined that action milliseconds before. This reinforces the idea that what we call free will may just be an illusion created by the mind to maintain the feeling of control. If what we call freedom is just a game of shadows, is there any way to break free? Yes, but this freedom does not lie in making choices within the illusory system, but in transcending the system itself. The masters of wisdom have always taught that true freedom is not in having more options, but in silencing the ego and allowing the higher self to guide existence. But what does it mean to transcend the system? It means understanding that as long as we identify with the ordinary mind, we will be trapped in the illusion of choice. The ego believes it chooses, but in reality, it only reacts. Everything we think is a free decision is, in fact, a conditioned reflection of our environment, desires, and karmic tendencies. Imagine a river. Its waters flow along a path that has already been carved, following the bed shaped by time and natural forces. The river has no real choice. It may have small variations in flow, may be stronger at some points and weaker at others, but it will always follow the trajectory given to it. That is how most people live. They believe they are making decisions, but they are simply following the path carved by karma and external forces. But there is something beyond this river. There is the ocean. The ocean is not controlled by a single course, for it is vast, immense, infinite. The ocean represents awakened consciousness, the mind freed from the chains of ego and destiny. One who becomes the ocean is no longer limited by the banks of the river. One who awakens to this reality no longer needs to struggle to choose because they already understand that choice itself is an illusion. The Bhagavad Gita, one of the greatest spiritual scriptures of humanity, teaches us, "He who knows the supreme truth sees action in inaction and inaction in action. He is wise among men." This means that one who understands reality perceives that even when they seem to be acting, they are actually just flowing with the higher will. And even when they seem to be doing nothing, they are allowing the truth to manifest through them. This is true freedom, to act without being trapped by the illusion of doing, to decide without being limited by the illusion of choice. But how do we escape this illusion? How do we break the cycle of conditioning? The answer lies in self-knowledge. One who observes their own thoughts, questions their own motivations, and distances themselves from the mental turmoil and whirlwind of desires begins to realize that everything they called I was just a set of learned patterns. They realize that their mind is not their own. Their desires do not belong to them. Their emotions were implanted through centuries of conditioning. And then silence arises, a deep silence, where true freedom manifests. Spiritual masters of all traditions have spoken about this silence. Buddha taught that liberation from suffering comes from the understanding that there is no separate self, but only a continuous flow of causes and effects. Lao Tzu said that the wise act without acting, allowing the Tao to guide them. Jesus spoke of abandoning one's own will to follow the will of the Father. In all these traditions, true freedom does not come from choice, but from surrender. When we understand this, we realize that there is nothing to fear. There is no reason to resist the flow of life. There is no need to fight against destiny, because destiny is not an enemy. It is merely the consequence of our own unconsciousness. And at that moment, something changes. The mind becomes still, the heart opens, and true freedom reveals itself. Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras says, "When the mind becomes still and is freed from external impulses, true freedom is revealed." This means that as long as we are identified with the desires and fears of the ego, we will remain bound by the chains of destiny. But when we transcend this identification, we realize that the prison never existed, only the illusion of being imprisoned. Those who awaken to this truth begin to see that the true choice is not between different paths within the labyrinth of illusion, but between staying in it or leaving entirely. The wise do not deceive themselves with the idea of control, but surrender to the flow of higher consciousness. It is at this point that true freedom manifests, not as a choice of the ego, but as union with the greater will. If everything said here resonated with you, it means your soul has already begun to awaken to a deeper reality. The question is not whether you have free will, but who within you is choosing. If it is the ego, then you are merely repeating patterns and illusions. But if it is your awakened consciousness, then you will be living in alignment with something far greater, the universal will. Now I ask you, after all this, do you still believe you truly decide your life? Leave your comment and share your thoughts. If this knowledge made sense to you, like this video and subscribe to the channel for more deep teachings on hidden wisdom. See you in the next video.